Jai Hari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari Yashodhanandana Jaya Vrajanandana Yamuna Tiravana Chari Jaya Kunda Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunda Vihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath Swami, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath Swami, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Baladev, Jai Subhadra Mani Sunatana. Jai Jagannath, Jai Baladev, Jai Subharamani, Subhasana. Jagannath Swami, Nayana Patagami, Nayana Patagami, Bhavati. Jagannath Swami, Nayana Patagami, Patagami, Bhavati. Jai Jagannath, Jai Baladev, Jai Subhadramani, Sudarsana. Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath. Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Patita Pavana, Srila Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna, devotees, Matajis, Prabhujis, welcome to Srimad Bhagavatam class on ISKCON Seshadripuram platform, morning 8 o'clock. So, today I have been instructed to discuss sloka number 28 of 29 chapter of 3rd canto. So, we'll shortly discuss the sloka and further what Prabhupada has to say about it. We'll discuss more in detail. Just wait, I'm opening the sloka. धूमज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितमेन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितमेन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदाम्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपां साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तस्य जीवं साद्वैतं सार्वधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपदं सहगणलिता विशाखान्वितं तस्य। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीन बंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासरि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। प्रभुपाद की जय। Okay, so I'll just recite the shloka and meaning and purport by Srila Prabhupada. जीवा श्रेष्ठा ह्या जीवानां तथा प्राणभूता शुभे तत्सच्चित प्रवराश्च ततश्चेन्द्रिया वृत्तयः। Jiva, living entities, Sreshta, better, he, indeed, Ajivanam, that inanimate objects, Tataha, than them, Pranabrutaha, entities with life symptom, Shubhe, O blessed mother, Tataha, than them, Sachittaha, entities with developed consciousness, Pravaraha, better, Tataha, than them, Cha, and Indriya Vrittya, those with sense perception. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Living entities are superior to inanimate objects, O blessed mother, and among them, living entities who display life symptoms are better. Animals with developed consciousness are better than them, and better still are those who have developed sense perception. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In the previous verse, it was explained that living entities should be honored by charitable gifts and friendly behavior. And in this verse and in the following verses, the description of different grades of living entity is given so that one can know when to behave friendly and when to give charity. For example, tiger is living entity, part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the Supreme Lord is living in the heart of the tiger as super soul. But does this mean that we have to treat the tiger in friendly manner? Certainly not. We have to treat him differently, giving him charity in form of prasada. The many saintly persons in the jungles do not treat the tigers in friendly way, but they supply prasada foodstuffs to them. The tigers come, take the food and go away, just as dog does. According to Vedic system, a dog is not allowed to enter the house. Because of their uncleanliness, cats and dogs are not allowed within the apartment of gentlemen, but are so trained that they stand outside. The compassionate householder will supply prasada to the dogs and cats, who eat outside and then go away. We must treat the lower entities compassionately, but this does not mean that we have to treat them in the same way as we treat other human beings. The feeling of equality must be there, but treatment should be discriminating. Just as discrimination should be maintained is given in the following 6 verses concerning the different grades of living entity. The first division is made between dead, stone-like matter and living organisms. A living organism is sometimes manifested even in stone. Experience shows that some hills and mountains grow This is due to presence of soul within a stone. Above that, the next manifestation of living in condition is development of consciousness, and the next manifestation is development of sense perception. In the Moksha Dharma section of Mahabharata, it is stated that trees have developed sense perception. They can see and smell. We know by experience that trees can see. Sometimes in its growth, a large tree changes its course of development to avoid some hindrances. This means that tree can see, and according to Mahabharata, tree also can smell. This indicates the development of sense perception. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते जयपताका स्वामी निति नामिने नमो आचार्य पदाय निताय कृपा प्रदायिने गौरवतरमदाय नगर ग्रामतारिणे नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे शक्य देशतारिणे जय श्री प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरि गौर भक्तवृंद
లేదంటే నా దగ్గర ఇంకో పైప్ ఉంది అదే
హరే రామ హరే
మళ్ళీ రోల్ చేసుకున్నాం. అది యాక్చువల్ గా ఇంటి దగ్గర తెచ్చాను మొన్న ఈ పైపు. దానికి ఒకసారి వస్తారా స్వామి?
Mataji Prabhuji, can you mute yourself? There is some whispering on background. Prabhuji, yeah. जीवा श्रेष्ठः जीवानां तथा प्राणभूता शुभे तत्सच्चिता प्रवरास् ततश्चेन्द्रिया वृत्तयः. Living entities are superior to inanimate objects, O blessed mother, and among them living entities who display life symptoms are better. Animals with developed consciousness are better than them, and better still are those who have developed sense perception. Okay, so we'll continue the discussion now. I'll give a little bit background in and around this shloka, so that then we can correlate the whole discussion. Because this shloka is like a standalone, but we need to understand what has happened before this shloka and maybe next 2-3 shlokas also. So this is basically the conversation between Lord Kapila and Devoti, his mother. And Lord Kapila is instructing the science of devotional service in this particular chapter. And while explaining that earlier shloka, Lord has already explained to Mother Devoti on how to take up the devotional service, what are the symptoms of devotional service. And in fact, in couple of shlokas, Lord explains that devotional service is exhibited by various types of people. Okay, everybody, I mean, there will be some starters, freshers in devotional service. They may not be in a pure sattva guna or shuddha sattva guna. They may be in mode of ignorance, mode of passion, even in mode of goodness. But then devotee, pure devotee is beyond all this, and he is in the shuddha sattva guna. But then Lord explains, yes, like devotees ultimately, they are devotees. So, but they are in different gunas. So, of course, that's not a topic here. But I'm just trying to summarize the whole thing. Then the Lord is explaining the clear symptoms of pure devotee, where the devotee is attached to name, fame, and paraphernalia and leelas, all of the Lord. That is a real test. He is incessantly attached to Lord's pastimes, and is attracted to that. He is continuously chanting name of Lord, and he is continuously in Krishna consciousness. That is, he explains that. Another important symptom or another important characteristic of devotee, which is very important, is, of course, devotees, all sort of devotees, pure devotee as well as various stages of devotees. All are devotees, no doubt. But all are engaged in worshipping the Lord in temple or in home in a very systematic way. Okay. 9 processes of worships are already, we know that. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, like that. But the most important is, Lord explains that whoever is in devotional platform, devotional service. He should see how he should see the other living entities around us. That is very important point. And this is the discussion points of last some slokas and upcoming some slokas and this particular sloka. So Lord is explaining what are the various types of living entities around you, around us, as a part of this material nature. So, and that's what we'll discuss a little bit more. So Lord explains some slokas before, as I was mentioning. We should see all the living entities in an equal platform. Now, we need to elaborate it further. Prabhupada elaborates in his purport. But the important symptom, very important characteristics or behavioral things of the devotees, he sees all living entities in an equal way. He doesn't discriminate. And he has got full compassion to all the living entities around us. When living entity doesn't mean only human beings, all sort of living entities, moving, non-moving. So, but if somebody is engaged only in worshipping the Lord, but doesn't treat or see other living entities in a respectful way, in a very compassionate way, or he may disregard them or insult them or trouble them, hurt them, then that's not very good sign as a devotee. Although one may be engaged in worshipping of the Lord in temple. So anyway, it's a bit delicate topic, but we will further discuss that. So let's understand. Okay, so Prabhupada mentions, I'm just reading the translation again so that we just catch up the particular shloka again. Living entities are superior to inanimate objects, O blessed mother, and among them living entities who display life symptoms are better. Animals which develop consciousness are better than them, and better still are those who develop self-perception. Now, as I mentioned, Lord explains some slokas before, we should see all living entities on the same platform. But here there is a discrimination, sort of. Who is better, living entities which sense perceptions are better than animals. Animals have got some sense perception. Better animals are better than the living entity. They just show the life symptoms, and they are better than just inanimate objects with some growth symptoms. And Prabhupada gives example of some mountains or hills also they grow because there is a soul present there. Some of those. So that may against our so-called modern science, but we go by Shabda Pramana of Shastra. So Prabhupada mentions also the hills and this grows sometimes. Due to presence of soul, and why not? Because it's very simple to understand once we understand Prabhupada's purpose. Say for example, our body, we grow. We have a childhood small body, 2 feet, 3 feet, and then it grows to 5 feet or whatever. Right? Its body is nothing but it's like a dead material. And of course, there is a subtle body also. So it grows. Subtle body, gross body grows. Why? Because there is a soul. And if soul lives, if living entity is dead, it doesn't grow. We know that. In fact, it deteriorates. It gets destroyed. Forget about growing, it gets destroyed. So important is presence of soul. And this is a phenomena everywhere. So wherever there is a life, there is a, so life comes, it grows, it gets maintained, then it dwindles, and ultimately get destructed. Clear cycle. And this, all symptoms cannot be exhibited in any particular entity without having presence of soul. So it's not very difficult to understand if you go by Shastras and especially Prabhupada purport that yes, hills and mountains can grow and there is a life there. We have to see it in that way. And there are in our all Shastras also there are various examples of hills and mountains participating in various transactions. Anyway, that's only one point. But in general, 84 lakhs yonis, there are various bodies. They are like yantras, we know. All bodies they are like machines with a characteristic. So that particular machine is having some characteristic. Human being has typical characteristics, their sense perceptions, their analytical abilities, their ability to distinguish. And if you have to talk in a very at a very spiritual level, the Athato Brahma Jigyasa. So all these abilities of human beings are definitely different, better than animal. Animals are restricted to Ahara by Nidra Maithun. And they have got sense perception abilities only to the extent to satisfy their urges of Ahara by Nidra Maithun. But human being has got these four, but plus he can inquire about higher truth in the life. Who am I? Who is Lord? Who is Supreme? What is this Prakriti are you all about? So, and then of course we can understand below the animal, lower level of animals are sort of, in animals also there are various evaluations. Then there are reptiles and there are non-moving but living entities. Trees are not moving, but they have what life. It's proven even based on modern science. Prabhupada many times gives example, and we know, like the modern science, there are many experiments where trees have been proven to exhibit symptoms of life. I remember you had there's a tree called, like, it closes its leaves the moment you touches that. Like they call it touch me not leaf tree, or in our language in Marathi we call it Lazadu tree. So anyway, whatever it may be. So once you touch it, closes. Is it possible without symptom of life? No. You take a dead stone and touch it. Will it exhibit that symptom? No. And trees, it is proven also in many by scientific, so-called modern scientific principles also key. The trees' behavior, they would have probably would have put some sensory mechanism to study the reflections of the tree nervous system or whatever you call. We are not biologists, but I'm just putting to study the response of trees, that particular trees respond to the person who is dealing with tree, a person with the sword in hand and trying to cut the tree. The response is different. That they measured it. There's something like this. And the person who is going to water the tree, the response is different. So basically they have proven that life symptoms are exhibited by trees at a very primitive level. But there is symptoms exhibited. We may not be able to understand those reactions or reflexes of the tree. That's our problem, because we are also in the same boat where perceptions or senses are not so perfect. We are also in the same boat, if you really ask me. Like, our senses are there. They are a little bit better than those living entities, but they are not perfect. So it's our inability to understand the whole phenomena. But that's why Shastras come into picture, because Shastras are beyond those limitations of senses or defects of living entities. They are Shastras are. What is four defects of living entities? Like limited sense perception, cheating tendencies, tendency to get illusion. So, and to error, we do error. So four symptoms, four defects are there in living entities also. To understand this whole phenomena, but Shastras tell very clearly. That's why it's said here. That's what Shastras are telling. Bhagavatam is telling. These are the living entities. 84 lakhs plus are the living entities. They are distributed. They are sort of again divided into many categories, and even in each category there are many subcategories, and this is their symptoms, and this is what Shloka is talking about, right? So we cannot understand, but there is a proven. And of course, with modern science, little bit we are trying to understand. But then, in any way, it supports that there are various types of evolution of living entities. Of course, Darwin mentioned something some days, some century back. It's a theory of evolution, which is one-sided theory. Prabhupada clearly, sort of declared it that this is not a foolproof theory, which now also in modern science also they are questioning. No, this is not right theory, and they have abandoned this Darwin's theory in many uh, syllabus, and there is a question going around it. Whatever theory modern science are putting, somebody else is going to invalid, because whole thing is imperfect, because that is based on the defective sense perceptions, which is one of the defect of living entity. And in fact, all the four defects of living entities only will support that modern science cannot be the perfect word. It's only we have to approach the perfect authority, which is our Shastra, Vedic sciences, and of course Srimad Bhagavatam, which will give us the perfect, theory. So now, the point I was trying to come to is, one side, Lord is clearly telling we should see all living entities at an equal level. And the other side is also true, and we experience, and Lord is also saying that, but there is a difference. In further shloka, Lord said there is a difference between trees and animals, animal to human being to among human being, better than among Brahmana, than Kshatriya, than Shudra, Vaishya. And but better than all this is Vaishnava. It's given in next shlokas. This shloka is just starting point of that, where Lord is explaining the hierarchy of the consciousness. Right? So 84 lakhs living entities are like machines. We can understand. They are a machine with particular characteristics of that machine, so that the living entity sitting in that machine can enjoy according to his desires of enjoying the material. So these 84 lakhs of various bodies are made in such a way that is basically based on the influence of three gunas. All bodies are mixture of three gunas, and in particular body, some one guna is prominent, other body some other guna is prominent, and then you can imagine lakhs of combinations of those gunas, where the outcome of that body and that soul mechanism is derive some sense pleasure, which is the precise problem of living entities. We want to derive materialistic sense pleasure based on our so-called unlimited desires or unlimited births till now. And it keeps growing and it keeps changing, and this mind is sort of, again, it's like, again, it's a software, it's a machine, it's a software which helps in doing so. It's all comes into one thing, it's a body, subtle or gross body, and it's a machine which facilitates living entity to enjoy in particular way based on his influence of the guna. Right? So nothing much to worry about 84 lakhs. Oh, so many. How? So that's not important. What is important is the whole phenomena is the living entity is the source of all this. Living entity is the source of all this. It's all about living entity's desires. He has got particular desires. He has got particular thinking, willing, feeling, tendency. And to match to that, there is a body given who also thinks, will, and feel in accordance with that. So Maya offers that body to us, and it goes on in synchronization. In fact, it goes to that extent that ultimately that machine or that body dictates what living entity should do in this feeling, willing, and that's what we say we are not under control. We are under control of. We have a complete grip on Maya. Means what? In the constitutional way, we cannot be under control of Maya, or we cannot be actually under control of mind, but as a constitutional way. But in reality, what happens at practical scenario, if living entity is not actually at a transcendental platform, or if he's in ignorance, he gets into that body's machine. That machine tells you, oh, you enjoy this. Okay, I want this. I want this. I want this. And it goes on. And living entities is forced to satisfy. And then we keep doing all that. And we enjoy to some extent. We enjoy that so-called material pleasure, which is very minuscule. But yeah, we do that because that is what we think. Nothing is beyond that. Beyond this material pleasure, nothing is there. So let me enjoy whatever it may be. Its standard may be too low, but we do that because that is what the whole system is evolved, right? So these bodies are like machines, and that is what being explained here. These are, but of course there is an evaluation, perception, sense evaluation. I mean, sorry, sensory perceptions, abilities, the evolution of is there. You trees cannot move, trees cannot, but tree has got some way of enjoying probably. Okay. Animals, they are restricted to the Ahara Bhai Nidra Maithun. Human beings, Ahara Bhai Nidra Maithun, plus they have got some additional subtle aspect to that, some literature, art, music, and all that. And again, at material platform, they do that. But in living entities, again, there are some living entities, they are trying to understand, oh, what is this material nature? Who is supreme? I'm not supreme. And then they start inquiring about Athato Brahma Jigyasa, who am I? Who is Lord? And try to get that knowledge, right? Jigyasu or Jnanis. And then devotees comes. They go beyond all this. They say, okay, all this fine. But then ultimately supreme is what? So they surrender to Lord, which is a real constitutional position. Satchit Anand. So our constitutional position, our means all living entities' constitutional position is Satchit Anand. Sat means eternally existing and knowledgeable. So we are eternally existing. So whatever temporary, we know this Bhagavad Gita, of course we have read Bhagavad Gita, so we know this. We are not body, we are soul. So Bhagavad Gita is making this point very clear. That's the first principle on which the whole Bhagavad Gita is there. Lord is instructing that you are not body, you are soul. So you should see all living entities at a soul platform. So there is an important shloka. Vidya Vinay Sampanne Brahmana Gavi Hastine. Chunicheva Sapakaya Cha Pandita Samadarshina. Bhagavad Gita says that you should see with this knowledge, what is which knowledge? With the knowledge of soul. That once you understand that we are at soul, we are all soul, living entities are soul. We are not bodies. With this knowledge, we should see Brahman. Brahman means highest living entity. Go like cow, and even Shwan means dog. They should see them all equal. And even lowest of the living entities who eat dogs, dog eaters, that also comes here, Shopak. So all these four. So we should see them on equal platform. Now, that's what exactly we are discussing. One side, there are evolution of living entities are described, and there is a clear-cut recommendation of discrimination. But other side is say you should see them all equal. How it is this? So Prabhupada explains. Let's exactly read, then we'll discuss. I'll just read again this this purport so that we are dot on further understanding. The compassionate, okay, sorry, I'll just, the first division is made between dead stone-like matter and living organism. A living organism sometimes manifested even in stone. Okay, so this point we discuss. I'm just trying to catch that particular word. Just we must treat the lower entities compassionately, but that doesn't mean that we have to treat them in same way as we treat other living beings. The feeling of equality must be there, but the treatment should be discriminating. This is a sentence I was trying to pick up from Prabhupada's purport. The feeling of equality must be there, but treatment should be discriminating. Just how discrimination should be maintained is given in the following 6 verses. So this precisely Prabhupada clears the cloud of what we are discussing, of the apparent contradiction here. Lord explains As a devotee, we should see all living entities same. But simultaneously, Lord also explains there is a distinction, and we should discriminate. So what is that? So basically, let's understand. At a soul level, first of all, who devotee or any transcendentalist, any spiritualist and devotees knows we are not bodies, and he seen everything on soul platform. So in this way, he will see all living entities. So his vision towards the living entities will be soul. He will treat in his mind, he will respect them, or he will treat, or he will show that compassion, or he will deal with them in an ultimate sense as a soul, who is Satchidan, who is divine. That is one thing. But transactions, when it comes to a transaction means day-to-day transaction. We know what, like this word we know, transaction. I'm just in actions, what Prabhupada said about transaction. While dealing with, it cannot be same. Prabhupada gives nice example. Tiger. If tiger comes to our house, are we going to treat him like a guest? Come, sir. You sit, I'll give you some food. You sleep in our house and be there comfortable for 3-4 days. So after 3-4 days, nobody of us will be there. Tiger will, take care of us. So it cannot be same. But some real guest comes, our friend comes, we are going to treat him different way. Tiger at the most, okay, I mean, tiger comes with, tiger will not come nowadays to the home. But if happen to come across tiger, you will rescue yourself. You will not deal with him. At the most, you will, if something is, you will throw some food and you will run away. Or you will not even go to that, you will run away the moment tiger, roars. Even I remember, Prabhupada gives example of dog also. And I remember, like, since we are from village, in my house also, uh, uh, because it's a farming, the so big scale farming. So we used to have dogs, and of course, most of you will have this experience. It's not very unique. I'm telling you, it's there. If you go to now also in villages, of course, now it's a bit different, but I'm telling you some 30, 40 years, 40, 50 years back, the villages, we used to have 2-3 dogs in our, and they will go to fields along with my grandfather, along with that bullock cart. That dog will accompany with bullock cart. Then they will sit in the field, and they will supervise is any other animals, or if some unwanted animals are visiting the field, and they will drive them away. I have seen that personally, and they'll protect that the whole farmer or the family. I have seen it very personally. And when they come to home, they need food. Okay, so they will sit outside of the veranda. Usko bolte hai veranda. I don't know. Like there is a house, and outside the house there is small extension of house which is just free for putting some grains and some peripheral things. Just stack up there, and there's some free space there, so that some living vendors or shop these visitors, not guests. I'm telling, they can be dealt and they go away. And the people who don't want to be inside the house, they just for small transaction, they are dealt there. So there's all veranda. And so dog will come there, sit, and they'll wait there to have food. And housewife from the that particular house, or the whoever is there, she or he will give the food, put it in front of him. There will be separate pot there. That dog will drink the milk, eat the chapati or whatever that bread and food, and he'll go away. He will never get into the inside the house. I have seen this personally in my own home. What Prabhupada is writing, Prabhupada has referred all sort of practical experiences. See how he was, whole Indian, whole Vedic culture, yes, he was perfectly put it in a purport form also. He has referred it all examples which are very day-to-day and practical. So I have seen this personally. So they will never, but of course nowadays these are different. They bring dog into bedroom, they bring dog into kitchen, they bring dog into car, as if it's like I don't know. That's because Prabhupada writes very clearly. Animals are not hygienic, which we know. They cannot be hygienic because they don't have that sort of perception. They don't have that sort of understanding that there is hygiene and unhygiene. There's nothing. They can't discriminate. They do whatever they want based on their sense perception, based on their analytical strength. They just eat, sleep, and do that. So so they don't have discrimination. Doesn't mean we should not have. We should have discrimination of transaction. That yes, dog or animal should be cat. Same example. Even cat also we have seen roaming around. Nowadays they roam around inside house. They sit on bedroom. They go anywhere. The persons are eating food. Dogs are also eating food there. That's very pathetic. I have seen that, and that is as a devotee, we don't encourage this, and we don't, and it's a common sense actually. We don't enjoy that, but we respect them. How? Because we give them food. He is part of the member. Literally, I have seen. We treated him that dogs as a member of the family, but not going beyond. But transactions are very clear. Transactions are very clear. He will give him food, he will protect us, he will be taken care. If he's sick or something, some medication, basic medication will be given. Of course, nowadays there are clinic, but I'm telling, general medication will be given. I have seen that, and beyond some limit, will not touch him beyond some limit except minimum this thing just to right. So this very clear thing we have seen. So the point here is uh, transactions with living entities. Of course, we are talking about dogs and tigers. That is probably easy to understand. But let's come to the living entities also. Human beings. There are various categories of human beings, and all of us are in different categories. Some of us are in devotees category who are understanding all this, who are having purified mind or on the verge of, or we are on path at least. And some of us are, we have seen in temple, our Shiksha Guru, Diksha Guru, they are at a very different level, right? So there are devotees, there are some gyanis, or there are some, they are good, they want to understand, but they may not be very clean in their habits. We go to office, we deal like in family also. Everybody in the family may not be same level, or it may not be somebody devotee, somebody is not devotee, somebody is semi in between. Somebody are envious guys. They are troublesome to people. In office also we go various types of people. Some people are extremely passionate. They want everything today. They want everything within 2 days. They want to become CEO. And some people are, completely ignorant what is going on. They don't know. Some people are very angry. Some people are very greedy. Some people are extremely good. Even in office, day to day, I'm talking about general mass of people around us, which we are also part of it, of course. Some people are very good. They will not disturb. They are cool going on. Some people are having good habits. Some people are having extremely addictive nature. Various combination based on three gunas. Even in human beings, 4 lakh species are in human being across. If you go across geography, on Earth or even beyond planets where human beings, 4 lakh. And in Earth, in India, in Bangalore, we can see so many things. So it's all variegated. Prabhupada has used this word, material variegated. There is a material variegatedness across us. Our bodies is one of the best example of material variegatedness. So based on the material variegated, based on the body's, I'll say, symptoms of that body or that person who is inside the body, we have to deal with that person. That is the key message here. We cannot deal everybody in the same way at a bodily platform, because transactions are happening at a bodily platform. If tiger comes in front of me, it's all bodily platform, because neither tiger is at a soul platform, neither we are at that level of understanding tiger as a soul. Of course, there are many in Bhagavatam or stories where extremely elevated soul, they don't discriminate even. So that's all different. It's very different. But in general, we have to discriminate where tiger is different. Because bodily transactions are different. The way tiger is going to respond to us is different than the way normal human being will respond. And the way some envious human being is going to respond is different than the normal human being will respond. So you also should transact in that way, only at a bodily transaction level. Because we should understand that ultimately we are under that influence of body yet. And we have to deal with that accordingly. But on the back of mind, what Bhagavatam suggests, Lord Kapila says, and that's the whole chapter, whole topic of Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, that how we should see living entities. We should see living entities as a soul, but that should be at a conscious level. That should be at a visionary level. Yes, all are living entities. We should treat them that way. So this is a point which is very tricky point. I'll not call it tricky. Prabhupada made it very simple. I'll not call it tricky definitely, but at a times we may find that difficult. How to practically and a practical way. So we should see all living entities. We should not hate others. That's why we say we should not hate others. Devotees is niskanchana. Devotees nirmatsaranam, niskanchanam, or all this. Means these are all. Devotee doesn't hate anybody. Devotee doesn't desire anything. Or devotee will see all living entities same, means he will see ultimately its soul who is inside us. So he will focus on his soul part as a when it comes for seeing that living entity, visualizing that living entities. And his transaction also will depend on this vision only. But in practical sense, he will deal with that any X or Y living entities in practical sense on a bodily considering that body as his external way of dealing with the thing, and he will deal with that. But ultimately, the respect given or the vision is that it has soul platform. That's why devotees are compassionate. Prabhupada was so compassionate. All the Vaishnavas are so compassionate. Why? Because they see, the acharyas, these people have already, this authority has already reached to that level where they are able to see everything at soul platform. Otherwise, why they should be compassionate? Otherwise, they should be like our living entity normal. Okay, he is my friend, I will deal with as a friend. He is my enemy, okay, I will deal with an enemy. This is what we do as a living, general living entities. But acharyas will never done that. They have, Prabhupada has gone out of his all so-called, comfort zone, and he just went to Western world, which is full of lectures, yavanas, and in India also everywhere, because that is the need. He was the modern day acharya. So he went, why? Because he saw everybody as a soul and he wanted to deliver everybody. He wanted to deliver everybody. That's why he went. And so he demonstrated that how to see. But then even Prabhupada also, when he went to Western countries and established this thing ISKCON, so he dealt with that accordingly. He gave the Shastra as per time circumstances without compromising on basic principle, but he made it that way and he gave that formula. And that's why Westerners or India also now we are almost like Westerners. We are able to pick Prabhupada's philosophy because he customized it properly without changing the original principle. But he did it. Why? He did because he could see, he never hated anybody. Obviously, Prabhupada, and have you seen, seen in the sense, never. Prabhupada was so nirmatsaranam, this is a live example. Then only he could attract so many living entities of all sort of envious, non-envious, all lectures, yavanas, whatever you say. He could attract everyone, made a devotee. And now also another 10,000 years, Prabhupada's books are the only basis for which humanity is going to sustain as far as spiritual life is concerned, right? So he did it how? Because he demonstrated how to see every living entities in a very loving way at a soul platform. But transaction can be different, and he has given the example how to do it. We can only try to follow. We cannot imitate, but we can only try to follow Acharya like Prabhupada, and we should do that. That's the whole purpose. If we don't follow, because he was at Acharya level, I'm just leaving what to do now. I can't. That is excuse. We should follow. We should not imitate, but we should follow. If we don't follow, then it's an insult to the Prabhupada's so much effort he has taken. So we have to do that. So slowly and steadily, we should change our vision. Yes, And we can understand it in our peace or in our day-to-day personal life, social life. We sometimes we don't like some people. Hey, what is this guy? We hate people. We become angry at some people. We should stop doing it. We should do it as we keep work, as you keep working under Guru's guidance, Guru Shastra Sadhu's guidance. As we keep purifying ourselves slowly, purification means coming out of influence of mind, calm, approach, low, mama, moh, matsab. As we keep shading away all these things with the help of with with the shelter at lotus feet of chanting and Guru, and so we can slowly start seeing. We at least will reduce our this matsara, greed, krodha, and that is what exactly means ki we are actually trying to disregard the bodily features, external feature of living entity, which is body, which is a manifestation of, which is just some material nature. And as we stop hating others, or we stop discriminating others in this way. So it's all about our consciousness, how we see the things. So once you see the things in this way, our behavior will slowly change. But that doesn't mean we'll go and sit in front of tiger. That's not going to happen. But the way we look at, forget tiger, that's very extreme example probably for us, because we are not at that level. But tiger will run away. That's the first thing we'll do. But um, let's be take view of living entities. At least we can start changing there. Yes, we should not hate others. We should not have too much greediness. We should not disturb others. This slowly we can start doing. And that's what it is. We should, the moment we see them as whole, because ultimately everything is divine in this Satchidanand. And Lord tells in earlier slokas, He is residing into all living entities as a super soul. So that is a key thing. We are going to temple and worshipping Lord because we want to see the Lord. We are worshipping Lord. We are surrendering to Lord. Then if Lord is sitting in every living entity, why we should not worship that Lord? So we should worship that Lord, means that living entity means we should respect. Yes, there is a Lord present there. We should see. So that is the real culmination of all transcendental part, means we should see all the living entities. We should shred away all these discrimination tendencies in our heart, and our transaction should be in such a way that it should be practical, to the extent that we cannot go and tiger and sit in front of it. That practical has to be there. But when it comes for disregarding or disrespecting or hurting the living entities, that should not happen. That will happen only when you change your consciousness of, and when you get knowledge of Shastras, precisely what you are discussing. Lord Kapila is explaining with this knowledge, we should start seeing this. And then slowly the whole things will develop that attitude of seeing living entity in the same way. This is the way Prabhupada has nicely explained the whole matter, because otherwise it's complicated. It is definitely contradictory. Without Prabhupada's purport, very difficult. One side living entity, everything is the same platform. We should not answer. Second side, how we will do it? Where there is a discrimination there also. Varnashrama system, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Shudra. Why? There is a discrimination. But then here it's said in the shloka, in the other shloka of Bhagavad Gita, whatever we read, Brahmana, then dog, Brahmana, and then Chandala, we should see as same. It's the same Bhagavad Gita. But there is no contradiction. It's due to lack of knowledge that contradiction will come. But once you take knowledge of Bhagavad Gita as it is explained by Prabhupada, then only we can understand, yes, there is no contradiction. It's very clear. Brahmana, Kshatriya, they are all based on the living entities, different modes. Their bodies are in different mode. Their bodies are going to behave. Bodies are going to transact in different way. So as a practical aspect, we should transact in that way. But there has to be compassion at Brahmana level or Kshatriya level, at least, to bring everybody to Brahmana level. So whole purpose here is because everybody is soul, everybody is divine, Satchidana, everybody is basically Brahmana at a constitutional nature or above devotee. Basically, we are we are the sevaks of Lord. We are the servants of Lord. That's our constitution. Servants of Lord means he is above Brahmana, it's Vaishnava. So the whole purpose of Bhagavad Gita or Varnashrama is to bring everybody. So as a potentially everybody can become devotee. That's the whole. That's why Bhagavad Gita is for everybody. Compassion is for everybody. That Krupa of Lord Chaitanya is for everybody. That's otherwise while Lord Chaitanya would have given that Mahamantra. He is going everywhere and telling Mahamantra, take and come back to back. Means come back to your original position. So that clear cut intent or direction is there. Yes, everybody has to become devotee and come back to me. Lord is telling. But as on now, our bodily, because our desires are still there, our contaminations are of three modes are there. There is a classification. It's not discrimination that way, strictly speaking. Classification is there. And there has to be step-by-step growth from Shudra, Vaishya to or whatever it may be. Step-by-step need not be. You can directly become Vaishnava just by chanting. But that's how it is. Because that's a practical aspect, transactional aspect. But casteism and all that in India started because they forgot the real philosophy and people started misusing it. And they started, exploiting the others. And it's all got disrupted due to influence of Kali Yuga. That's a different thing. But the whole thing is, that's why we miss. So India, the moment we say Varnashrama, some people will say, oh, it's casteism, you are doing casteism. Stupid guys, no? So there is nothing like casteism here. It was degraded system of Varnashrama which gave to this casteism and this all that exploration. Nothing to do with Varnashrama. Varnashrama is perfect because that is based on the Shastric principles. So it's very clear. So anyway, so this is a way probably based on Prabhupada's purport where we can understand this apparent contradiction. There is no contradiction. It's very clear, and that's the whole purpose of these shlokas. That yes, we should start seeing everything as a soul platform. Vision should be soul. Respect them, but in terms of transaction, you should be mindful. Shastras also, and even Guru Shastra Sadhu only give the directions of how to do this transaction in practical way also. How that discrimination has to be there on transactional level, but how the discrimination should not be at a consciousness level. That Guru Shastra Sadhu is only going to tell, and is told. All stories in Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita and all this is there. It's clear. So we have to understand under guidance of Guru. We may misunderstand. We may not know how to do the transaction in day-to-day world. That's why whole devotional service has to be executed under guidance of Guru. Very clear. So this is an example of how Prabhupada has clearly explained everything. Crystal clear, no confusion. If we take Prabhupada's purpose in a very spirited way and very humble way and without much unnecessary or contaminated mind, speculative mind, if you do that, without speculative mind, we are bound to understand this. We are bound to get elevated, no doubt about it. So this is what I wanted to share my understanding on Prabhupada's purpose and Bhagavatam slokas. Maybe I would request His Grace Vidura Prabhuji to correct it or add further comments or little bit give more aspect of this particular thing. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu Dandat Pranam. Very nice class, Prabhu. So as you said, it's a delicate.
Prabhuji, you're probably sorry. I have I am not probably able to. You continue, Prabhuji. I'll just put speaker. Please continue, Prabhuji.
Okay, so as I was saying, very nice class, Prabhu. So nicely explained how to understand this purport. As you were speaking, one thing which I remembered about these mountains, right? The definition of when we say mountain is a living being, there was a time when the mountain used to fly. So just imagine some mountain, I don't know, whatever nearby mountain suddenly flies and comes and sits on top of our house. Your house will get destroyed. So those kind of disturbances were there. And then some Muni then, said, you guys don't really understand. Your consciousness is not evolved not to disturb the whole other people. And therefore, you should be fixed up. You should be sort of rooted. And because of that, I don't know if you will call that as a shapa or if it is a blessing, whatever it is, the mountains became fixed up. And therefore, they were not able to move. So the other thing is on the point of what is the definition of a living entity, right? So science, like you're talking about science and Vedic thing. So the definition varies. The science looks at a living entity as simply in terms of the heart, the blood vessels, and all of that stuff. But the larger context of living entity is the presence of the soul. So if you see, and then how do you understand the presence of the soul? No microscopes or any telescope is given with which we can see the soul. But the definition given for understanding the presence of the soul, you explained nicely about the the birth and then the growth and sustenance, then dwindling and going away. Now, if you apply that principle, actually, whether the soul exists and therefore that is called a life or that's called a living entity definition as far as Vedic scripture is concerned, then mountains, plants, trees, everything have these characteristics, right? So in that sense, you gave this example of the plant, touch me not, but there are other plants which actually use that principle to eat. Right, they have nice scent, something like that. Then when insect comes inside, it will immediately close the food.
Yes.
And then that food is digested, just like how our stomach digests that whatever we put in, and then that becomes its nutrition to grow. So and there are many plants also know how to, because they can't move, how they procreate, right? So how they use various birds, how they use various this one, amazing things. I sometimes people say devotee should not watch television, but I sometimes watch all this National Geographic and the stuff where you actually get a lot of information which you can use to prove what the Vedic things are there. Sometimes when you watch, you see, you get this, because the science is also actually Vedic only. Prabhupada says sometimes, right? Science is also trying to establish the same truth.
Yes.
But the methodology is different. So that we don't condemn science. We try to understand science, but with the understanding that everything emanates from Janmadasya Yataha. That where Bhagavatam starts. Everything emanates from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that is the approach, and therefore, if you are able to understand science in that aspect, science is very glorious. So these two are very important. And the other about when you say how people should be able to see everybody in the same light, and then discrimination on this point, as you said, Brahmanaha Samadarshinaha. So you see, so your seeing is based on whether it is a living being or not a living being. So if it is a living being, you give the same respect. You beautifully explain. If Krishna is in, you go to the temple, Krishna is there, you respect that place. Similarly, if a living entity means in the car, Krishna is there, therefore you respect. That's fine. Then where is the distinction comes means, which is happening day in and day out. For example, when you see a child, when you are dealing with a child, let's say a 5th standard or 6th standard child, you respect that child as a living being, or you adore and you respect, you give so much of care and love to the child. But when it comes to treatment, like a child the consciousness of the child is not so very well developed. So you can't have that child somewhere and talk some very high level mathematical formula with that child, or you cannot have one kind of a discussion just like you have discussion with your equal age friend. So that doesn't mean you are not treating that child equally. So the treatment is different. You go out to the level of the child, and like if you give a toy car and say, you drive, you act like that, and then all that you do with the child, because that consciousness is only at that level. So you have to discriminate. That child cannot think beyond this level. So I will treat it like this. You can't have an intellectual discussion with a 5-year-old kid or whatever. So that doesn't mean you discriminate in terms of the living entity. Like you actually give more respect to the child than you give to maybe yourself or your family member, right? And we see this. So that is equality, but at the same time discrimination. So the same thing you apply to the other living entities. You rightly said, each body is a machine. Like each species is a machine body. Body is a machine, and the body has a limitation. A dog can understand so much, and therefore you should be able to treat it. Like the dog has this hierarchy, right? Actually they say, right, the domination. For a dog, only if you dominate, it will actually be happy. This is again from National Geographic. how there is something called a dog whisperer or something like that. The dogs will become very unruly. And that fellow will come and show his domination over the dog, and then the dog will become calmed down. It will be like a puppy walking around. It's like otherwise big dogs, like very heavy canines. They actually go and literally bite people and all that. Such kind of unruly dogs. But this fellow will just handle the dog with the dominance. The dog will become immediately surrendered. Then the dog also becomes very peaceful. So it's not like
a loyal animal.
It's
a very
not,
loyal animal.
You are not ill-treating the dog, but you are behaving in the way the dog actually understands behavior.
Absolutely.
Then it becomes surrendered, and then it behaves properly. Not that it is unhappy. The dog wants a master. This is the psychology of the dog. I am talking science psychology, not Vedic psychology. And Vedic psychology understands that. So when you are having a proper master, you are happy. And that is the real position of the dog being happy. And therefore you give that treatment, not that, I ill-treat the dog. So there are so many amazing things, which is also science. But Vedic things have already concluded those sciences. But somehow, unless we are able to prove that in our scientific manner, we are not able to understand that logic. So this is the whole journey of trying to prove Vedic science with practical, actual whatever our way of looking at science. So that is a few things I thought I would share. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thanks, Prabhuji. It was very nice elaboration, Prabhuji. Clarified many things. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thanks.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Any comments, questions from Mataji's, Prabhuji's present here? So I think if there are no comment questions, we will close the session. Is it okay? Okay, I think there seems to be no comment or question. So we'll close the session today. Thanks for sparing your time, all Mataji's, Prabhuji's. Hare Krishna. Thanks, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Grunthara
Thank you,
Srimad
Prabhu.
Bhagavatam ki jai. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. We'll log off.